Welcome to the first broadcast of Taking Your Voice Global. Today is an interesting day. Why? Because we have a number of exceptional talent that are here with me today that are taking their voice global. In today's program, you will learn from experts who specialize in human resource empowerment. You will also be learning from experts in real estates and expert in finance and experts in leadership. So today is going to be a very, very interesting day. So I want to encourage you to stay with us as we begin to get deeper into the first broadcast of Taking Your Voice Global. Our first speaker today is Chris, and Chris is an exceptional talent. Chris is the author for Men's Becoming a Better Man. And that's a pretty interesting book that really helps men to understand what are the significant role that they are called to play. But above knowing the significant role that they are called to play, Chris' role is to also position them to understand how to effectively execute in that role. So without further delay, I want to introduce Chris. But just before I open the mic to Chris, I also want to say Chris is also very actively involved in real estate development and an exceptional talent. So I want to say this very quickly. In the event that you are someone out there who might be going through some form of traumatic experience and you need a mentor, a coach, a sponsor, someone to guide you through that process, Chris is the person to talk to. So without any further delay, I now want to welcome Chris. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for the introduction. I thought that we should start this off with a topic that is very dear to my heart, and it is the first step in our platform, Men's Forum and Family Forum, and also a great deal of input was put into it in writing my book, Becoming a Better Man, and that is sense of self. Because I truly believe that sense of self and believing in yourself is the first order of business in any type of personal development, business development, whatever the case is. I found through doing my research in my own life and my struggles in my own life that was the biggest root issue that I had is I did not believe in myself and I felt unworthy and I had no sense of self. And so I decided to really dig into the root causes of this and figure out why myself and millions of other men have such an issue with this one topic. And I realized while researching this that it starts at a very young age. You see, when we have children as parents, we teach our children to dream. We teach our children to try to be the best that they can be who they want to be. And for a multitude of reasons, but mostly trauma that we endure throughout our childhood, we become adults and we do the exact opposite. We forget what our dreams are. We learn to settle. We learn to just get by. We learn to live paycheck to paycheck. We don't expect the best from ourselves. And I realized in my own life that was because of fear. Because when I was young, there were certain things that happened in my life that caused fear and made me feel like I wasn't good enough to become who I really wanted to be and who God put me on this planet to be. You see, we are all born leaders. We are all born with capabilities to be successful. None of us are born with hatred or prejudice or any of those things. Those are all things that we develop throughout our adolescence. And the reason that we are developed that is because of society, it's because of grooming, it's because of wiring, it's because of parental upbringing. There's a multitude of those things. But what happens is those traumas cause us to get stuck. And I like to say that, each time you are presented with a trauma or you inflicted with a trauma, it's like putting a rock in a backpack on your back. And eventually, by the time we get to adulthood, that backpack is so full of rocks that we are stuck and we can no longer move forward. So until you start unloading that backpack and you start taking those rocks out one by one and you deal with them and you learn to let them go, you will never be able to move forward. And I know in my own life, and I know in millions of other men's life, that's exactly what we do. We have no proper plan, and we have no action steps on how to deal with the trauma that we deal with. And eventually, by the time we become adults, we are stuck. And the only way to get unstuck is to figure out exactly what those traumas were, figure out action steps on how to eliminate those traumas from our mind, and then we can figure out action steps to move forward. It is the most difficult thing I ever had to personally do in my life because I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't have a plan to do that. So I literally made it my own goal to come up with this blueprint and start this platform and be the face of it because I wanted to provide a way that other men did not have to struggle for 40 years of their life like I did to start living a better life. I don't have the time to go into my entire story, but I will tell you chapter 1 of this book gives my entire story, all the struggles, all the pain, all the torture, all the trauma, but it also gives you an exact blueprint on how I overcame all those things with some help of others and figured out this blueprint so that I could be a global force in helping to change other men's lives. I would like to say that anybody is possible to transform. They are capable of transformation, but it takes one first step. And that is the thing that for 42 years of my life, I was incapable or unwilling to do. And that is to have some vulnerability. You see, as men, we are groomed at a very young age that vulnerability is weakness, that men don't cry, suck it up, be a man. We have all these other people leaning on us for guidance and for strength and for money and all these things. So we feel like we live on an island and we have to struggle in silence and that nobody even cares what we're struggling with. And that is far from the truth. But the problem is that society grooms us to be that way. And so therefore we start to think that nobody cares. And it wasn't until I realized that there were people out there that actually cared about helping me get better and then becoming vulnerable enough to ask for that help and to be willing to do what it took to accept that help for me to start getting better. And I don't want to sugarcoat this and say that it's a simple journey because it's not. But I will tell you that if I can do it, anyone can do it. I am someone that suffered from addiction to drugs and alcohol for 25 years. I am someone that tried to take his own life, and thank God that was a failed attempt. I am someone that got divorced from the love of my life and lost custody of my children. I am someone that has been through the depths of hell that most people can't even imagine. So if I was able to pick myself up with the help of some brothers and become the person that has started a platform and is helping men globally change their lives, then trust me, if you follow this blueprint, your life can be amazing in a very short time. I do not want to take all this time. I know we have other speakers, but I do want to pound the fact that I have suffered for 42 years of my life to figure out a way to show you that you don't have to struggle for 42 years of your life. If someone would have had this blueprint for me when I was younger, who knows where I would be now. But I do know that I went through everything that I went through in my life so that I could do what I do now. God allowed me to go through all of those struggles, and he also allowed me to remain on this planet because my purpose in life is to serve, and it is to help other men become the best that they can be. Please get my book, read my book, find the blueprint, join the YouTube channel. It is called Men's Forum. Register for that platform. On the YouTube channel, you can find a link that will allow you to register for free and get a ton of value and courses on not only becoming a better self, but also learn how to become a better father, a better husband, a better business leader, learn how to grow financially and achieve financial freedom. We have put thousands and thousands of dollars of value in courses into this platform, and for a limited time, it is free. So I encourage every one of you out there to join that. And then I realized that that wasn't enough. So we created a family forum because I realized that my wife divorced me, not because she stopped loving me, but because she didn't know how to help me any longer. So I wanted to create something for the people in the life of the men that are struggling and help them learn how to help the men that they love. And that's what the family forum is all about, how to support instead of enable, how to help them lead the family. A man is supposed to be the leader. He is supposed to lead his family. The problem is very few of us are ever shown how to do that. And we struggle our entire life because we don't know how to lead. So I encourage anybody out there that has a brother or a nephew or a, father, husband, anybody struggling in any of those areas, please register for the family forum. You would not be surprised at all to find the amount of value that you can get and the amount of help that you can provide to the men that you love. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Chris, I must say that was definitely a very powerful presentation. And I truly enjoyed every bit of it. A question that I'm seeing is the public is asking Chris, how would you define trauma?
Trauma to me is a significant event in your life that you block because of the pain involved in that event. And once you block that to block the pain, you literally get stuck in that trauma. And it is only walking through that pain and learning to let that go that you can move on from said event. It can be a multitude of things. It can be bullying. It can be sexual abuse. It can be, the list goes on and on and on. Gary, we talk about historical trauma. We talk about generational trauma. It's all out there, right? But trauma is something that allows you to not move forward because you are afraid to deal with the pain of that event. And until you find the root cause of that and you work through it by talking to others and doing the action steps that I provide in this book and in this forum, you will always be stuck. And once you get stuck in that trauma, like I said before, it's impossible to move forward.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Chris. Just a follow-up question is, what are common trauma that you recognized most men are faced with?
The biggest one I see is fear of failure. I've realized through my years of doing this and all the research and all the schooling and all that is that most traumas are fear-based. And men, when we are raised, we are taught to be fearless and we are taught to be the leader and not to show emotion. So what happens is when we have these fears of failure, especially, we're too scared to admit it. And that allows us to get stuck because we can't even admit that we're afraid. What man do you know out there that is going to admit he is scared of something? We're supposed to chew up nails and spit them out, right? We don't admit that we're afraid, right? So what that causes is, especially in my own life, is I was so scared of failing that I stopped trying because I didn't want to fail in front of my wife. I didn't want to fail in front of my children. So my answer was to not try at all. And I found that there are millions of men that do the same thing and they live paycheck to paycheck and they struggle in their own lives because they no longer dream and they no longer try to be the best that they can be because they are afraid to fail.
All right, thanks for that again, Chris. Another question for you, Chris. Money and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is being asked, how can men overcome financial trauma?
Yeah, financial trauma is huge. It is probably the leading cause of divorce in America, right? And the reason it's the leading cause of divorce in America is because men are leaders, right? And when we can't achieve our goals financially to take care of our family the way that we want to, that is the ultimate failure in our eyes. And when we have to lead paycheck to paycheck and we can't get ahead and we can't financially provide for our significant other the way we want to, and we can't give our children the things that we want to give them, that causes so much stress that I've literally met hundreds of thousands of men, including me, that can get to a point of being suicidal because of that one thing.
Mhm.
There is no man out there that wants to feel like a failure. And our number one goal in life is to provide for the people we love the best way we can. And if we can't do that financially, then we feel like the ultimate failure.
Great. Thanks for that share again, Chris. I want to join Chris and I want to say that with the Men's Forum and the Family Forum, this is a platform that really helps men to understand why they're in that financial challenge. The reality is that most men, you have a single source of income. And what the facts are showing is that that single source of income is totally inadequate to satisfy your dreams and hopes and aspiration for the collective family. So even in this book that you're seeing right in front of you, Becoming a Better Man, this book gives you a lot of tips and tricks and techniques as to start thinking about multiple sources of income, as to help you to get a better understanding of why you work. For example, in this book, you will learn things about why you work. Traditionally, you were taught to go to school, get a good education, get a good job. Nothing is wrong with that statement, but why stop at just getting a good job? So you will learn things like you work to earn, you earn to save, you save to invest, you invest to build wealth. So there's a sequence of things that you will learn. You work to earn to save, you save to invest, and you invest to build wealth. So if you're working on earning and you're not saving, you're not investing, you're not building wealth, that definitely is a clear answer as to why, as men, you will have tremendous trauma in your life. And what Chris wants to do with this platform is to really give you the tools and the support to position yourself to become a serial earner so you can build wealth and embrace the quality of life for yourself, your kids, your spouse, your loved ones, so you don't have to go through that struggle. Myself and Chris, we talk about this often. Many marriages break up. Why? Because of money problems. I'm not saying it's the only reason why marriage break up, but that's one of the reasons why. And but Chris and I partnership with what Chris is doing, and we want to help men to fix this challenge. So, any last word before you leave, Chris?
No, just, to reiterate what you said, the forum and the book is full of tons of value that is not just about personal development. Personal development is only the first step of living the life that you truly want to live. It is the first step because it is the most important step. But we are providing value in a multitude of different areas to where we will not only show you the way and give you the blueprint, we will guide you step by step and hold your hand through this entire process so that when you are ready, you can be the person you always wanted to be, and you can be the person that you are always born to be.
Awesome. I'm going to join you to say two more things quickly, Chris. This program that Chris is offering now also, I want you to go to the description of this video and you will see those links. All right, press on those links, Men's Forum, Family Forum. And for the moment, Chris is fully sponsoring anyone who signed up. All right, we're sponsoring anyone who signed up for this program for a very short period of time. Now, along with this, I want to say if you're in the United States of America, all right, 50 states, and you're a man or someone who is in business and you need to get access to capital, with this platform too, once you come through the men's forum and the family forum, and we are well connected from the US standpoint. And so whether you need debt or equity, credit or creative financing or hard money lending, we will ensure that you get access to capital to move your vision forward. So come and join the community. I can see so far we have 112 persons that are here, and no more persons are going to start to get into the room. And but Chris, I want to thank you for pouring into the public, and I trust that the public would have enjoyed every bit of what you said.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right, I have Stacy, and Stacy is an exceptional talent. How are you, Stacy?
Hello, I'm good.
I'm so glad to be chatting with you today. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Stacy just before I open up the floor for her. And Stacy is a faith-driven entrepreneur, and she's a coach. She's a legacy builder with over 30 years experience in business. Stacy is a family and ministry. She's deeply involved with family and with ministry. And Stacy and her husband, they have a very unique bond. And I do believe that the quality of relationship that I see between Stacy and her husband is the quality of relationship that we really need to see among husbands and wives. Um, Stacy, I must say, so great to be here with you. And I want to just open up the floor to you. I had a beautiful conversation with you and your husband, John. And I know that you guys want to touch the world and, throw your seed, to really impact the world in a very positive way. And I want to now just open up the floor for you, and so you can share your story with the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have now, I think it's over 478 persons here, and then the room is going to get bigger. So all to you, Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Collins, and I'm here. These simple words, they bring so much depth each time I say them. Every time I introduce myself, I receive more healing. I'm present, I'm being, my heart opens more and more to freedom. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, who am I now? Then you're exactly where you need to be, here. Years ago, my husband, John, of 32 years, amazing man, we built multiple businesses. We became large network marketing distributors. We're partners in a prestigious hotel, also in a 5-star restaurant, hosted and led large events, spoke on conference stages, received awards. We reached millionaire club status as presidentials in network companies, founded multiple 7-figure companies, won 5-star resort vacations and cruises, lived on 20 acres on the edge of the city, and by the world standards, we had made it. But then 2008 came. The economy crashed unexpectedly, and we weren't prepared. We lost millions. Our $3 million home didn't sell for 4 years. When it finally sold, we walked away with a $10,000 check. It was humbling. It was heartbreaking to think everything we had worked so hard together to build, gone. But you know what didn't stop? That little check from the network company we had joined in faith back in 1996. It wasn't about what we had accomplished anymore. It was faithful. It was here. And it still continues to pay us monthly after 29 years. Through this, I learned legacy isn't loud. Legacy lasts. After that devastating experience, you'd think, oh, slow down, even stop. But no, God had another chapter for us. A short while later, we went with our family of 6 to Hollywood. We stepped into managing our 4 children's entertainment careers. It was unknown. It was exciting. Brands like BMW, Coca-Cola, Sony, red carpets, green rooms, viral content, screaming fans, meetups for our children and other influencers, brand deals, opportunities that would seem unreal. How could this be? John and I navigated contracts. We learned a whole new world. We didn't know what we were doing, but we quickly learned. Many doors opened with favor. We learned more than we could ever share. These stories will be in my book someday. Hollywood is unique. You love it 1 minute and the next you hate it. I always say it's like a frog in a pot of water, not knowing what's coming next, but also not sensing danger. There's a discernment needed beyond defining. There's no rules, but there are rules. It was a dichotomy to what we'd always known growing up in Christian homes and raising our children on an acreage in conservative Alberta, Canada. I believe what kept us together was having our whole family in one place. There's something profound in this. We had a motto to not go alone to LA without John and I together, that we were all in for our children, for their future. That's legacy, that's covenant. And today, each of our adult children are carrying it forward in their own powerful ways. Kirsten is a 3-time multi-platinum songwriter and artist. In February 24, her songs literally went to the moon in a rocket from NASA. Christian is a coder, an AI programmer, and global traveler, creating and innovating with heart. Crawford has built a thriving community as a Twitch streamer, leading with authenticity. And Charisma is a Shopify host, bringing her own creative spark and business acumen to the online world and with her marketing agency. Together, they've built multi-million follower platforms, but what I'm most proud of isn't the numbers. It's the heart they carry, their passion to embrace life and identity, love family, and be there, and make an impact in the world around them. This is a parent's deepest passion. This is a mama's heart. Seeing your ceiling become your children's floor, seeing the seeds you planted now reaping abundance and overflow, that's legacy in motion. November 2018, I turned 50. And 3 short weeks later, my brother passed suddenly. It had been 19 years since our little brother had passed. The tsunami of loss had started, but I didn't know it at that moment. March 2019, we decided to head back to Canada and leave LA. We were all of a sudden empty nesters after having put our whole focus into raising our kids and supporting their dreams. Another feeling of, who am I now? A few months later, life brought another unexpected chapter. My sister passed away, and John and I, at 50 and 62, became parents again to her infant son, Zachary. It wasn't part of our plan, but it was always part of God's. One has to stop asking why and open our heart to receive the gifts we may not have ever expected, the beauty from the ashes. Raising Zachary has been the most sacred assignment of my life and has changed me to the core. He's always been my destiny. I've discovered that legacy isn't just built on big stages. Sometimes it's built in the quiet, unseen moments of loving one person well, saying yes to the unseen assignments we are blessed with. Right now, John and I are in a different season. After years of climbing mountains, building businesses, living in Hollywood, personal battles, we're now in the valley, the beautiful valley. But valleys aren't failures. They're where the deep roots grow, embracing the stillness. It's here I've come to understand legacy is more than success. Wealth isn't just money. It's the riches found in family and relationships, in the things money can't buy. Coming together, rising up and building legacy, not just in business, but in hearts, homes, and communities. That's the real wealth. One of the traditions we hold dear as a family is birthday blessings. Every year we gather around, we go on Zoom, we speak life into the birthday person, intentional words of identity, purpose, and love. Yesterday we did this for Zachary for the first time. He's 6 years old. Of course, he had a few cool dance moves with responses and then flips on the bed in the middle of hearing good things said to him and about him. So adorable. This simple tradition has grown into something more than I could ever have imagined. The testimonies I've heard from friends who have been invited in to share, Their lives have been impacted and changed. Our own children, who even felt awkward before, wouldn't want to be without it now. They take their birthday seat of honor and receive. I now host birthday blessing Zooms for other families and organizations, and I'm excited to pass it on because in a world that's so loud, connection is legacy. I thought by 50, after everything I'd walked through, I'd arrived. I'd faced the hard things, dug deep, forgiven, released, obeyed, and for a moment, I truly stood in a place of victory. But what I know now is the journey never really ends. We're always unfolding, always being refined, not because we're broken beyond repair, but because God keeps bringing us closer to who He designed us to be. A year and a half ago, I lost my dad. Then a few months later, our nephew, and then another little brother 10 months ago. Losing 3 siblings and my dad in 5.5 years stripped away every illusion of what I thought legacy was. It's not the platforms. It's not the applause. It's the quiet yes. It's loving when it hurts. It's holding a child in your arms when you thought that season was over. It's showing up, even in grief, and saying, God, use me anyway. Legacy isn't loud. It's steady. It's faithful. It's generational. For me, it's raising my sister's son, now my son, loving my family, pouring into women who feel like they've lost their way. It's helping others rediscover the sound God put inside them, their identity, their heartbeat, their reason for being, and their creative. That's what coming back to me looks like. And maybe you felt lost too, or you've lost so much. Maybe you've given so much of yourself that you don't even recognize who you are anymore. Maybe life has handed you blow after blow, and you wonder if there's anything left. Can I tell you something? Coming back to you isn't about finding who you used to be. It's about meeting the person God is still shaping you into. There's beauty in the becoming. There's legacy in the layers. So if you're in the middle of your own coming back to me moment, welcome. You're not alone. And you're exactly where you need to be. That's why I created Born to Create Legacy, to help others turn their life stories into impact that lasts. Because maybe you're in a season where the titles have faded, the applause has quieted, and you're asking, who am I now? I want to remind you, this isn't a comeback, this is becoming. Hi, I'm Stacey Collins, and I'm here, and so are you. Let's build legacies that last.
Wow, wow, wow. Stacy, you are a powerful storyteller.
Thank you.
My God, I can listen to you all the time. I truly enjoy your message. And, I really love everything that you said. You had everything. You lived the life as the Hollywood superstar, but then you were humbled and you were brought closer to the Creator. And like Deuteronomy 8:18 said, God gave the power to build wealth. And as you grow closer to God, you and your husband, you then apply God's way of doing things, and you are back on the rise again. And I can just feel your passion, you and your husband passion. Stacy, I know that your heart is with empowering people, and I spoke with your husband, and I know that he has lots of experience in working with rising stars in business and in positioning them to scale their businesses into 6 and 7 figure brand. And tell us a little bit about what inspired you and your husband to embark on this journey.
I believe that we both came from families that he has 8 children in his family, I have 10 children in my family, and it was like we saw so much more than you would see in just a small family. There were so many dynamics, in our world, and
Yeah.
you wish that you could change something. And there was always this passion for creative, for being an influence. And we saw that in just our everyday life, and we wanted to expand on it. And it really came to light when our children came into the world. Like, there's nothing like birthing a child and seeing a part of you. I call it my heart on legs. And I really believe seeing our daughter Kirsten, when she was 20 months old, singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on key, there was something that clicked. We've got to support this. We've got to. So we just started to support our children, and it grew from there.
Awesome. Stacy, what I know, you're not just rebuilding wealth, but you want to do this now in a very massive way, because we're now talking about legacy. And I'm certain that the definition of legacy is that long after you would have embraced your maker in heaven, and I know your heart is with Christ and you will be in heaven, you're leaving a legacy here. But what I'm seeing is that, in Genesis 12, 2 and 3, we also learned that, blessing is not just for you, and you are living this as an example. You're blessed so you can be a blessing. And as you talk about legacy building, and you want to help people to build their legacy also, can you talk to us a little bit about your vision behind legacy?
Well, it started with first I started with Discover the Princess You Are, right? And then we did this Project 22, how to bring out people's gifts and stuff. And then God downloaded to me Moms of Creatives. And then it was Moms of Rising Stars. And then I laid it down, and I took a sabbatical for the last, 2.5 years, and healing. And as I've been processing with God every day, I heard Born to Create. But then I was like, oh no, I don't want to really be responsible for people's creative, right? And then God downloaded to me Born to Create Legacy. And I was like, well, what is that? That's a big word. Everybody throws that word around, you know? And I feel like I'm just discovering legacy is impact. It's like, it's the seeds that you plant that are reaping long after you're gone, right? Like my dad's legacy. My dad was one of the most men of faith I've ever met in my whole life. I just honored how he heard from God, and the songs that came out of him, and the poetry. He wrote like 2,000 poems, and that's a legacy that we're finding them randomly. We're finding them unexpectedly. Someone found a picture of him this morning with his smile, or you see his laugh on a video, and it's his essence, his being, his presence lives on. It's like when we speak words, it resounds. It doesn't die. Sound vibrates. There's so much, like if you look at the quantum of God, like literally things resound, they revive, they go on and on and on. And when I've lost so many people that I love so close, you look at life and you think, what am I doing, like with what I have? Learning to say yes to things that you've been hiding from, and learning to say no to things that are sucking energy from you, and not in the fulfillment and the destiny and calling that you were created for. So that it's just a passion that stirs up in you, a fire that you're compelled. And I'm seeing it everywhere in this season, like things that we've been talking about for years. No one got on social media. We were one of the first families on social media, back in 2014. Our son was one of the top 10, right? So all our friends were like, what are you doing? That's not normal. But we didn't understand the responsibility and the foundation that we were creating, and the responsibility of what we were carrying. I'm looking back now, 11 years later, going, wow, I wish I had known what I know now, but this is the time. This is the time,
Yeah. Amen and amen. I certainly believe that, and this is the time. And I've learned, sometime in life you want things to happen now. But the story that I've learned, is when Joseph and Abraham led the people out of Egypt, Moses led the people out of Egypt, and he was taking them to the promised land, Canaan. And they had to wait 40 years before they get into that kingdom. I know you say wow, but what I've learned is that the average person, when they hear 40 years seems to be like punishment. But what I've learned and in deeper study is that was a season of preparation.
Yeah.
And I do believe that everything that you have been through is a season of preparation, because it is to equip you and outfit you with the armor of God, the knowledge of God. So when you get out there to do what you have to do, because you have been through so much, you are more prepared to deal with the challenges that will come at you, because challenges do come at you when you least expect. But with those experience that you have, you're more prepared. Stacy, you are definitely an inspiration, and I could listen to you all the time,
Thank you.
you know, um, and I truly enjoyed, all of you, and I want to encourage you to keep doing the great work that you're doing. And we have a lot to talk about,
Mm.
and we'll do a lot of talking from now. But any last word you want to share before you wrap up your session?
Yes, one thing. Coming on here today after 2.5 years of being quiet, and God asked me to step out a month ago, and I said yes. And it was in front of 700 people on a stage singing. And I was like, what is this? But I said yes. And I was afraid. And I was hiding. And if you're hiding,
Mm-hmm.
process that and think, what if I said yes?
Yeah.
What if I just did this? I feel so empowered just coming on today. Thank you, Gary. My dad's name is Gary. And
Wow.
and I was just sharing that with him yesterday. I have 100,000 unread emails.
Yeah.
Somehow I found Seven Figure Media in the middle of that chaos. I was supposed to be here. Where are you supposed to be? Be here. Be present. Embrace life to the fullest. You need to embrace all the time that you have and not waste it. That's my message.
Amen and amen. What I love about what you said, and that's a true testament, testimony. When God wants his way, he always has his way, because you had over 100,000 mails that was coming in, and the one that you selected was Seven Figure Media. And here you are today, doing God's work.
He's having the last laugh as always. Yeah.
You're so God is so good, to God be the glory. We have to give him all the glory. Amen.
I'm
All right,
honored.
Stacey,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome anytime. All right, Stacy, thanks again, and do have a great rest of the day. Talk soon. All right, my next speaker is Clement Frank. And Clement Frank, he is an exceptionally talented individual. He has a master's degree in economics. He's also a doctor now, being certified at John Maxwell and certified coach. And Frank is also a serial author, having written several books. And today, Frank will be talking to us about leadership and crisis. And of course, in life, you may have many crises that you comes up, you have to deal with in life. And what Frank will bless us with today is strategic ways to navigate crisis in business and crisis in life. Frank, how are you, my friend?
I am so happy to be here. And when I was thinking about this topic, I didn't realize that the two speakers ahead of me, they were definitely in crisis. It's how you come out of that, or while you're going through it,
Yeah.
is then you realize, are you really or truly a leader? And so what I want to look at this afternoon, but I'm seeing it's time. I was going to put up the slide, and that would have taken a little while more. So I'm just going to be speaking on catalyst leaders in the face of crisis. And listening to the prior speakers, Chris and Stacy, what we find is that we all go through from time to time crisis, trauma. How do we bounce back from the crisis? Because crisis doesn't create leaders, it reveals them. So when you have those moments of upheaval, when uncertainty looms and stability is shaken, the true essence of leadership is tested. And then catalyst leaders, those who drive meaningful change, stand out during these times, not by merely reacting, but by responding with purpose, with clarity, and long term vision. And today I want to explore how the catalyst leaders respond in the face of crisis and what lessons we can draw from their approach. First and foremost, catalyst leaders stay grounded in purpose. When everything around them is uncertain, they turn to their organization's core mission to guide their decisions. And this anchoring provides clarity, it prevents panic, and ensures that their actions are aligned with long term goals rather than short term fear. I'll repeat that. The actions are aligned with long term goals rather than short term fear. As the saying goes, when everything is in flux, your why becomes your anchor. Second, catalyst leaders communicate with transparency and empathy. In a crisis, people just don't want information. They want honesty, they want humanity. And catalyst leaders don't sugarcoat the truth, but they also don't spread fear. Instead, what they do is that they balance facts with hope, ensuring that whatever team they're in, that team feel seen, they are heard, and they're supported. Their communication is clear, consistent, it's compassionate, which builds trust, which builds loyalty. So people just don't want answers. They want honesty, empathy, and they want a plan. The third thing, or thirdly, catalyst leaders, they communicate with transparency. And transparency doesn't come by itself, it goes hand in hand with empathy. In a crisis, it often depends that we break away from those outdated methods. We got to think outside the box. We got to be innovative. We got to be creative. Now, the catalyst leaders welcome creative solutions, adapt quickly to changing circumstances, and empower their teams to explore new ideas. So instead of being paralyzed by fear, the catalyst leaders see crisis as an opportunity for reinvestment. As one wise voice put it, crisis is the birthplace of breakthrough if we stay open to it. When I listen to the former speakers, what I'm seeing is that both of them are catalyst leaders, leaders for change, and they didn't buckle under the crisis, but the crisis revealed the true leadership in them. The fourth thing I'm looking at is rather than working in isolation, the catalyst leaders will mobilize collaborative action. What they realize is that no single individual has all the answers. In the face of crisis, they bring together what we call a diverse or diverse perspectives. They form cross-functional teams, and they build unity through shared responsibility. So by fostering collaboration, what happens is that there's a multiplication problem-solving capacity, which accelerates progress. In times of crisis, collaboration beats control. And I want to say fifthly is that these leaders just don't put out fires. Mm-mm. They have a plan, not for now, but they plan for the future. So while managing what is happening immediately, that's the immediate situation, they also think strategically about how to transform their organization, what lessons can be learned, what systems need rethinking, how can we emerge, support, or get stronger. And so catalyst leaders use crisis as inflection points, turning the challenges into opportunities for long-term impact. So we're not just surviving, we're reshaping the future. Another defining trait is their focus on people and well-being. The catalyst leaders recognize that people, all people, are the heart of every organization. And so they prioritize the physical, emotional, and the mental health of their teams. Understanding that resilience is built not just through strategy, but through care. You can't build back better if your people are broken. Won't happen. Finally, before catalyst leaders model what is called resilience and courage, because they know that their attitude sets the emotional tone for the entire team. In the midst of fear, the catalyst leader remains calm. In the face of complexity, they act ethically. And when others feel uncertain, their presence becomes a source of strength. Your calm is someone else's courage. To summarize, catalyst leaders demonstrate several key traits during a crisis, and they are purpose-driven, they are transparent, they're agile, they're collaborative, they're strategic, they're people-centered, and resilient. So these qualities not only help them navigate the difficult times, they position them to lead transformation beyond the crisis. I want to leave you with this reflection that catalyst leaders don't just lead through crisis, they lead because of it. Crisis is a crucible for leadership, and the question we must ask, every one of us must ask ourselves, is this: what kind of leader will I choose to be when the pressure is on? I've had numerous experience of crisis: personal crisis, business crisis, societal crisis. In those days, I didn't know how to react to these crises. But what I want, the kind of leader I want to be, is the one who remains anchored in purpose, the one who is unshaken by fear and guided by compassion. I want to respond, not react, leading with calm confidence that inspires others to stay grounded. I want to communicate honestly and transparently, even when the truth is hard, and to make decisions not for applause, but for impact. I want to be the kind of leader who sees opportunity in adversity, who empowers others to rise, and who keeps people at the center of every solution. I want to be remembered not for controlling the chaos, but for bringing clarity, courage, and connection when it was needed most. I thank you.
Great share, Frank. I want to start with some of the questions. And question one is, what are those habits that one needs to learn and to become good leaders?
Habits one need to learn to become good leaders. The first, I always say, the habit of communicating. If you can't communicate as a leader, if you don't have the habit of not just communicating, how you communicate. It means that you lose those persons who are around you. The other habit that you must have is one of empathy. If you don't empathize, if you don't show empathy for others, you're in a bad way. Because a people-centered leader is a leader who will make people realize what their dreams are and push them to achieving the dreams. Another habit that you should have is self-discipline. And why it matters? Because leadership starts with leading yourself. The habit, therefore, is to set the clear goals. You wake up early, manage time wisely, and you follow through on commitments.
Mm-hmm.
Another habit is that you have to have continuous learning. You see, leaders grow with knowledge. That's why that matters. So you need to have the habit of reading daily, the habit of attending trainings, seeking feedback, and most of all, stay curious. I also think of strategic thinking. Leaders must anticipate, they must plan and adapt. So the habits of this is that you reflect regularly. You consider long-term consequences, and then you analyze the patterns. You also must have emotional intelligence. Great leaders manage emotions and understand others. And it is when I was talking about earlier, where you have to practice empathy. You got to stay calm under pressure. You got to handle conflicts gracefully. And so I'm not going to go back to clear communication, because if you don't have vision without clarity, it leads to confusion. So the communicate expectations. You got to communicate expectations clearly. You got to provide regular feedback. You got to adjust your message for your audience, and you must be held accountable. Leaders model responsibility. They own up to the mistakes. They learn from failure. They hold themselves and others to high standards. And I'll close off with a servant leadership. True leadership is about empowering others. You got to ask how you can support others, how you can mentor your team and celebrate their success.
Great. Frank, I want to bring you back, right back to your first habit, which is communication. And I come back here because one of the things that I recognize, Frank, and we talk about this all the time, is that as leaders, sometimes you speak. But speaking does not mean that you're necessarily communicating clearly. Why? Because as a effective communicator, it's so important to recognize that the person that you're speaking to may have a learning style. And that learning style could be a visual learner. So if you're communicating, but you're not communicating visually, there may be some barriers to communication. If you're communicating and you're not communicating And to an auditory learner, there may be some barriers there. If you're communicating and you're not communicating, taking into consideration kinesthetic learners, there may be some barriers there. So that is so important what you said. And I know you speak with that depth, and communication means communicating in a way that the person that you're communicating to have a clear understanding of what is being said. There's a lot of work there, but Frank, I must say, I, as usual, I truly enjoy your presentation, and I want to encourage persons to get your books. We will talk about how they can access that soon. And go ahead, Frank. Go ahead, Frank. I know you want to say something.
No, no, no.
You were saying something,
But
Frank?
no, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't saying
Okay. Great. So I want to say yes. I do enjoy your program. I want your presentation, and I do want to encourage the public to ensure that they follow this platform and follow all the platform that we are on. And all the speakers here, you would be learning so much more about the books that they have and how you can access their books. You will be learning about the courses that they're offering. These are top-notch program, well tried and tested. You have listened to Chris. Chris is tried and tested, years of experience in real estate, and now he's into human resource development. Stacy built multiple seven-figure business and rise and fall, and is now on the up and up again. And so they have a lot of experience to share with you. And Frank is now talking to you about leadership. So all of the speakers, I trust that you would have enjoyed each and every one of them. And but just before I leave you, Frank, is there any last words that you want to share? And before I move on to the next speaker?
in all of it, in a crisis, leader must be able to adapt. You see, the world changed fast, so leaders have to change, and so we have to embrace change. We have to pivot when it's needed and stay open to new ideas. And finally, integrity. And I can't stop stressing, as a leader, you have to have integrity, because without trust, there's no leadership. So you have to have the habit of keeping your word. You have to always act ethically. Just do the right thing, even when it's hard. And that's my point here.
Do the right thing even when no one is looking.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your share, Frank. As usual, it's always great talking with you. We'll
It's
talk
always good
soon.
to be here. It's always good to be here.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. I have another speaker. Stacy, are you there? It's not Stacy, Lima. Hi, Lima.
Yes,
How are you?
yes, I'm here. I'm here. How are you?
I am great. I must say, I'm so happy that you're here today. Lima is an exceptional talent, and Lima is also into real estate. And what she does, she helps people to buy their first home and to possibly invest in real estate. And also, she talks about some hacks and some tricks, how to acquire your first home with no money down. All right. But Lima is much more than this. Lima is also involved in, you know, the world of writing, the world of publishing, and part of what she also does, leveraging her systems is to position authors to become best-selling authors. And so Lima is well connected in her world, but without any further delay. And Lima, I want to hand the floor over to you. How are you? How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm doing awesome. It's a pleasure being here. On a weekend, I get away with my children, and but still, I'm here because I want to be here. This is a special moment, and so I want to thank you for the invitation.
The pleasure is all mine, and the stage is now yours.
Um, I'm really excited about being here, and I wanted to talk to you about my journey as a real estate investor and how you can, be a real estate investor. It's for anyone. Um, I'm a real estate investor by nature now. It's just my way of being. It's a lifestyle for me. Some individuals, it's a side hustle, but it's a lifestyle for me. I buy and sell properties with no money, no credit, no mortgage. I have a real estate mentorship program where I literally teach students from all over the globe the strategies that I use to buy and sell real estate. And so, literally, they're building portfolios to cover their household income. So, whether or not they're working, they still have income coming in, leveraging real estate ownership, which is building wealth and power, for their families and building legacy. And that's what my purpose is. And so, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited about this day and time that we're in. There's so much that is changing. It's changing rapidly, and it's time for everyone to really get on board. Opportunity awaits, And so, if you know that and you've been having this nudge and you know that it's time for you to experience the life that you really desire, definitely you want to move forward now. There's no time. There's no time to wait. We're already in the second quarter of this year. And so I just wanted to let you know it's time to move forward. I started my real estate investing journey a long time ago, and it was a hardship for me. To be honest, I wasn't interested in real estate investing. It was a hardship. And my son, he was small. He was having brain surgeries. He was literally born with a grade 3 blood clot in his brain. And if you know anything about, the brain and blood clots and all of that, it's like the worst type, that you can have. And he was a newborn baby. And the doctors, they told me he's going to die. He's not going to live. And if he does, he's going to be a vegetable. We just can't tell you that he's going to have the life, that you really would expect your child to have. And I was just, I was distraught at that moment, but I remembered what God told me. I remembered the word of God. I remembered that, God had the last say. And I remembered that Jesus is the great physician. And so I chose in that very moment to stick with what the word of God says. So, regardless of what the doctors told me every day about his condition, I said, you know what? He's going to live and he's not going to die. And I knew that I had to do something. So I prayed to God and I said, what can I do? I need money. I need to be present with my son. At the time I was a school teacher. The Board of Education, they were threatening my job, calling me, every day. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I kept saying real estate investing everywhere, real estate investing. And I started studying everything about real estate investing. I hired a mentor. That's how serious I was. I knew that I had to do something, and I wasn't going to look back. I wasn't going to change my mind. I made a decision about what I was going to do, and I moved forward. Within 6 months, I closed my first deal. And it was really funny because I was supposed to make $5,000 on this deal, but I screwed the deal up so bad. It was horrible, but I still made money. I made $2,400. And I said to myself, wow, I can do this. I can live like this. Literally, it took an hour to put the deal together. I got the check, and I messed the deal up, and I said, whoa, I can do this. I went to the Board of Education that day and I quit my job. I packed up everything, I walked out, and I said, you know what, God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you with my son's life. I'm going to trust you with this real estate investing journey. And I'm going to do everything that it takes, everything. And you tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to look back. I'm going straight forward. And so I took that next 6 months to a year, and I just was closing deals. right and left. I would literally be in the recovery room with my son coming out, waiting for him to come out of the operating room, having a brain surgery. My son had 40, 50 brain surgeries. I stopped counting. But the whole time I was there to support him, I had my laptop, I had my phone. I was doing real estate deals in the recovery room while waiting for my son to come out. And so the reason why I tell you this story is because I want you to know it doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter what the situation is, you can still have the life that you desire. I did not know that by me trusting God and by me really yielding and surrendering to Him and walking by faith, because we all have a measure of faith. Walking by faith really took me to another whole dimension in life. I was able to have all of the finances that I needed to take care of my son. I was able to have the time. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to worry about anyone calling me, harassing me about the job. And I was, really excited. I studied the brain and I just went, all in ham. And I really just said to myself, I'm going to make a difference. I know that God is going to take care of me and my son. And so he did. And my son is 28 now, and he graduated high school when he was 21. He still have some delays, but he's not a vegetable, like the doctor said. He's not, you know, he can do everything on his own. He can eat by himself. We get to do everything. We go to the amusement parks, we go to church, we go to fine dining, whatever we want to do, he can do it. And I just want to say to you that you can have the same life. I help others have this life. This is my purpose. If you are interested in creating another source of income or starting a business, if you've been thinking about real estate investing, this is definitely life changing. It's changed my life. It's changed the lives of others, around the globe. And I'm still excited about it. It never gets boring to me. And I really just have to really thank God because, you know, me walking in faith and me trusting Him, it takes me to different levels, in life, because the Word of God says that we're supposed to go from glory to glory. And so when you trust in God and you trust yourself, then you can do that. And so that's what I want you to understand. You can do that too. And so I want you to, if you're on Facebook, follow me on Facebook, DM me. I want you to reach out to me. My calendar link is there. You can set up a time to talk to me because this is my purpose. My goal this year is to help 1,000 men and women to become a real estate investor, going from zero to millions, to help 1,000 men and women to tell their stories, to help 1,000 men and women to get exposure, on stages, global stages. And so I want to encourage you, reach out to me. I'm here. I want you to really stay encouraged on your journey and trust God, because if you do, things will start to happen in your life and they will shape and form in ways that you could never even imagine. So thank you so much for having me, Gary. I'm really, really excited to be here. I can't wait. 2025. Let's go. Let's go. 2025.
Let's go. Lima, it's always such a pleasure talking with you. I know you're filled with the Spirit of God, and I know that you do things in alignment with God. And what I like about you also, is that you're a shining example that you could embrace God and you can still embrace and position yourself to build wealth. And because the truth is, and I keep referring back to Deuteronomy 8:8, and God gives the power to get wealth. So why not you? We all are His children. And a significant part of what we're going to be doing here is teaching people the theory and the practice in terms of how they can truly position themselves, to build wealth the right way, and not to be selfish as they build wealth, because in the great book we also learn, I think that is 1 Timothy 6, 17 and 19. It clearly states, be rich in good deeds and be generous. So as we build wealth, you want to be rich in good deeds, and you want to be generous. But let's talk real estate a little bit, Lima. The average person who's attempting to buy their first home, they at least need to get a healthy FICO score. And traditionally, they're going to say, okay, your FICO score needs to be above 680, and you need to have, some collateral to get some skin in the game. But here is where you have been inspired and motivated enough doing what you do, that you have figured out ways to navigate, and no credit, no money down, and all of these things. I don't want you to give away the whole hack, but can you just give the audience some sense of understanding as to what that process looks like?
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, a lot I advise homeowners or potential, if you're thinking about purchasing a property, um, to really get into know real estate investing,
Hmm.
before you even move forward with purchasing a property. And a lot of people think when purchasing a property, that means, because we've been conditioned over the years that purchasing a property, the American dream, get the mortgage, move into your house with the white picket fence, the dog, the two kids and all that. That's what we've been conditioned to think as, how you can go about getting a property. And that's not the way. To me, and I remember Chris talking about this earlier, having debt. A lot of times when you buy these properties, you get the property, you have a mortgage, you're literally struggling to pay it because you don't have the income. You're not yielding revenue enough to cover all of your, bills every month. So you're stuck. If you miss one or two payments, you're going to lose the property. And it's not your property to begin with. A mortgage is a lien against a property. A lot of people don't realize. So you really don't own that house if someone can come and take it from you. So
Hmm.
I encourage, everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're going to buy a property, if you're considering, ownership, start out, as learning, real estate strategies, because this can help you on your journey. It'll help you to, when you're buying properties, to get properties where you're walking into equity when you're purchasing properties. A lot of times you're dealing with real estate agents and mortgage professionals. That's not what they're going to help you with. They all want to close these deals because they have to make money themselves. But as a real estate investor, if you learn certain strategies and you have that hat that you're wearing when you're going out to get your first property, then you can make sure that you're walking into equity. You can make sure that you're not going into a property where later on it's going to be underwater. You can make sure that it's an investment, for you and your family. And so there's a lot of strategies that you could use. But I, say that you don't have to rely on credit. You don't have to rely on having huge lumps of money down, or a mortgage. And those are some of the things that I encourage everyone to think about, because it'll really make a huge difference in your life and the life of your family.
Wow. Well, you've said a lot, and I just want to join you in sharing a little bit in terms of how that process works. I could recall a situation, and this is where visibility is so important, because a real estate agent, he had visibility, and there was an individual who was in crisis, and the crisis was that they were moving to another state, and the cost of paying this was difficult for them to pay their mortgage. So all he had wanted someone to do is to assume ownership of the estate and pay the mortgage.
Mhm.
So he literally signed everything over. Because if he had walked away from that, could have affected his FICO score.
Mhm.
And you know, in America, when your FICO score is affected, almost everything about you is affected. And the real estate agent was able to sign that deal and take over that mortgage, and everyone was happy. So that's just some of the possibilities that happens in the real estate market. But you got to be in the market, you got to be known, you got to be able to be well connected. You've also said something else that is beautiful. And in the US also, if you can buy, when you can buy your real estate with equity, what that does, it helps you to take out the equity. It helps you to invest the equity. And because you now have that opportunity to take out and invest the equity, it creates more opportunities for you to build wealth. You can take out the equity and that can go into an income producing asset. So the first home you're living debt free. And because you leverage the equity is now into an income producing asset that is paying for that new home and the home that you're in. So there's a lot of possibilities, but you're perfectly correct. There is so much that persons have to be learned, and I'm certain that when they get into the classroom with you, you will definitely be giving them all of those hacks and so much more.
Yes, yes. And I love, the strategy that you spoke about before. That's definitely a way to go. That's a type of owner financing, which is definitely open and it's available for anyone. Owner financing, or some individuals assume mortgages.
Yeah,
I'm not really one for assumption of mortgages, but owner financing is definitely one of the strategies that I use, and it's a really great way for you to acquire a home, without going through all of the traditional ways of getting a home. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. As a real estate investor, um, over the years, my children, I'm able to, through owner financing and other strategies that I use, to give them a property for their birthday, each and every year. And so this type of strategy is something that you could use, buy a property to move in, use it as an investment, give it away to your children as gifts. Is something that you could do too. So I love, the fact that you brought that up, because it's definitely a way, an available strategy to use in real estate investing.
yeah. And you're right, and there's so much of strategy. You know, in the market, I've seen that sometimes you have desperate sellers, and once you're a deal maker, when you have desperate sellers, there is where all the magic takes place.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Lima, I know that you do much more than this. While I know real estate investment is one of your key portfolios, I know that you are multi-talented. And so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your other strengths that you may want the public to know.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited because, this year, we, just launched a collaboration book, with authors from all over the globe telling their stories of transformation. And the stories are absolutely amazing. And all of these authors, they've gone through this, the trauma that, the esteemed authors before me talked about. And they've gone through the situation, the turning point in life, and having that transformation. And now they're using their lives to help others. And so it's a book to inspire you and to encourage you to know that you can have the life that you want. You get to create the life that you want. God gives us that, opportunity. And so it's available for everyone. So definitely, you can get that book. It's on Amazon only right now, on Amazon, 99 cents. You can go there and purchase that book and read it. Or you can go to www.rebirthinternationalbook.com and you can get the paperback book. If you go and buy the book on Amazon, I'll give you the paperback book for 50% off. So if that's something you're interested in. But that book is out. That's the first volume. God gave me the idea for that book, and I was asking him what type of event should I host, and he ended up giving me a book, a collaboration book. um, it's it's so awesome. I knew it was him. I didn't want to do it, but I did. And so now we're working on volume two. We have more authors. People are telling their stories. They want to make an impact to transform lives, and so now we're really working on volume two that's going to be launched this year as well. This is an international best-selling book, and this is not just about the book. It's a mission to help bring hope and healing around the globe. And so I'm really excited about it. I never thought that I would be doing this, and I didn't even want to do this, but now I'm so happy that I did. Every time, when you trust God, the impossible happens. So just imagine if I did not do what he wanted me to do, with this book. So I'm
Amen.
excited. Chose
Amen.
me. I'm excited to do this. It's really really awesome. And we also have a platform for speakers, business owners, authors, esteemed, individuals to go there and get speaking opportunities. We have a community. It's called Elite Speaker Society. So you can go to www.elitespeakersociety.com and join that community. I have some free resources there for you as well. Um, I mean, it was God told me to put that together. I did, and it's growing rapidly. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about everything that God is doing. It's not me. I can't even take the credit. It is not me.
Lima. Well, I love that you're humble enough to reduce yourself and let God supersede you in everything that you do. I think that there is magic and there is power in just humbling yourself onto the Creator. So I'm truly inspired by what you're doing. I'm impressed, and I'm absolutely certain that the icing is now being laid on the cake. All right, you're now getting warm up. Right, for greater things to be happening in the name of the Creator. All right.
Mhm.
Any last word you want to share, Lima, before I bring the next speaker?
No, I just want to say, everyone, 2025, let's go. Like, you've been thinking about what to do, you've been wondering, you've been trying to figure it out. Stop figuring it out. Just let's do it. You can reach out to Gary, reach out to me, Chris, all the other
Yeah,
move, and
I.
God is gonna move. You move, and
Mhm.
He's gonna move.
Yeah. I want to say this, that everybody who's here today, um, they have a blessing to pour into your life. So if you're in business and you want to grow, you want to scale, you want to get into real estate, um, this is a community that we are building here. All right, this is a global movement. And this platform that we're on today, we are reaching over 50 countries, and we have over 100,000, members in the community, and we're growing it bigger and bigger. So I will encourage you, to reach out to me, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to give you all the support that you need to position yourself for greatness. Lima, just to add one more thing to everything that we have said, in this community, we are not just teaching a theory, we are very practical. So if we're going to teach you about real estate, we can position you to access the capital to get into real estate investment. All right. In this community, we have investors that wants to invest with you. All right. We have managers that wants you to be successful in the things that you're doing. And if you're an author and you want to be, or you're an aspiring author, we have people in the community that is going to write your book. We have people in the community that is going to support you to get to the bestseller list. We have people in the community that's going to position you to develop your training programs. So there's a lot that is going on in this community. So keep following us, and we are here excited to just pour into you. All right, Lima, I must say it has been such a pleasure listening to your story. Your son, you're a fighter, and I can see that Stacy, we're having just enjoying and sucking up everything that you were saying there. But keep the good fight up, and greater things are ahead.
Yes, yes,
All
yes.
right,
Thank you,
thanks, Lima.
Gary.
You're welcome. All right, I'll now bring on the next speaker. We have Joan, and she's out of the UK. And Joan, how are you today?
Oh, I'm amazing. Greetings
My
to you.
God, it's a pleasure talking with you. Joan, I know that you have a rich history in banking. You have spent quite a number of years in the financial world. You have left the financial world, and I know that you developed a very strong relationship with Manny Finance, who is a major movers and shaker in the real estate world. You have built up a global community there for yourself. I've sat there with you a few times, and I see what is happening in that community. Now you have left there, and I see that you're back into the financial world. Talk to us a little bit about your big dreams and what you're doing.
Well, big yes or small, I don't know. Anyway, it's lovely to be here. Yes, I would like to talk about our career, yeah, and
Hmm.
how it is that we can grow and expand our career, or we can destroy it based on the way how we see life. Okay, so now we can destroy ourselves or the career. And what I'm looking at with regards to self is I look at the physical body because we do have a physical body, right? This is part of ourself. And we also have emotions. That is another part of ourselves. We cannot live without those. We have a mind, which is another part of ourselves. So we have the physical body, the emotions, and the mind, as well as we are an essence, yeah, spirit. So all of those combined is what I'm talking about when I say the self. And alongside, and my dog is just coming in, alongside, um, sorry about that, alongside, this is very interesting, isn't it? Alongside um, my financial life and planning and so on, um, I've also been very interested in uncovering the self, discovering who it is that we are, discovering more about who it is that we are. And so it's been a very interesting subject for me because I want to know more about myself, about this. So it helped me a lot in my life. But coming back to this point of our career and also destroying or expanding and growing, I want to share that some of us, when we go into a career, we decide, okay, I'm going to study a subject matter, and we study that subject matter, and that is what we will put into practice for some time between our lives, maybe for the rest of our lives or for a short period or whatever. So that's how we come about the career. And some of us will say, oh, well, you know what, our family is this way, we're lawyers, we're doctors, and I want to follow the same path. And that is another way how we will choose that career. All right. And we continue like that. And some of us will say, you know what, I need certain things. So I'm going to go from the perspective of need. I'm going to choose this job because I need money. I'm going to choose this job because I need to do certain things with my family. In other words, we're looking at it from those perspective of need, right? Nothing is wrong with any of those choices. Nothing at all. It's perfectly okay, right? But also, there's another part as well that we can choose from, and that is choosing from our self. Choosing from ourself. All right. So what that means is we go within ourselves and really see what it is that we love. What do I what do I want to express to the world? How do I want to express myself in the world? And find that and choose from there. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not clear, but we can go there and discover what it is that we want and put that into action. Now, the the benefit of that choosing from our self is it helps us to become more of who it is that we are, rather than only from the mind or only from the feelings or whatever it is. You know, it helps us to be more all of who it is. Like your physical body, your mental body, everything is in what you choose, not part of you. So of course you get more benefit from that. And I will share a little example of my own self. This happened many years ago, before I got into financial services, where I was working at a very well-known hotel in London, five-star hotel. They're still around actually, and I was there as at that time I was a boat leisure clerk. Boat leisure clerk is where you input all the information on something similar like a spreadsheet, but it's where the hotel's invoices are paid, and then you submit that to the department that inputs it into the computer. In those days, it was like that. Anyway, my job was 9 to 5, so I go into the office and I sat there and I do this every day. 3 years I've been doing it, so I know it like the back of my hand very well. I was the only lady in the department. Most of course, were men. And then one day, another colleague from the sales office said to me, "Joan, you know your manager's leaving." I said, "No." The manager from my office, I said, "No." And he said, "Well, why don't you apply for his job?" I said, "Why not?" I said, "Of course," because I knew everything in the department. And I did. I applied for that job. And after the time for us to get the results, whether I've got the job or not, I didn't get the job. I didn't get the job. I didn't get the position. It was internal advertisement. I didn't get it. So I asked why. And they told me that they gave it to someone else who I had trained 6 months ago, a new person that came into the office, and I trained him 6 months ago. And their reason at that time was because he had a family and I don't, and so on, so he needs the money more than I do. But that was their reason anyway. I felt hurt. And also, I felt that it's time for me to leave. Yeah. So I didn't see it like that then, but now I know what really happened. As I was there working, others, I see in the lobby, I see these ladies, they're all dressed up, looking really lovely, and like they're not doing anything, but they're regularly in the hotel. So one day, I chose to ask one of them, I said, "What is it that you do?" And she said, "Well, we are the sales ladies." I said, "What do you sell?" And this is when I am ready, have already made my mind up to leave. And she said, "Well, we sell the hotels to clients." So I said, "Oh, I would love to do what you do. Not necessarily the same hotel work, but the sales." It's like something triggered me, something excited me when I saw them doing that. They look like they're not doing any work, but they're all dressed up and they're all mingling with people. And I enjoy that. I love that. But I never dressed it before, only when I'm about to leave. And then she says, well, we became friends, but what actually I did from then on, when I left, my first job was telesales. So that was the beginning of my sales journey directly. So I moved from telesales to the newspaper, from the newspaper, and then I moved on to another newspaper where they had hunted me to be a shareholder and director of a new paper. At that time, it was called the Voice newspaper, London Weekly Voice newspaper. I was in charge of the advertising department. And then I moved from there on, after a few more years, into financial services. So what I'm saying is the talent that I had within me to speak with people, to share what I have to share, to present myself, express myself in the way how I want, that excited me. And I kept doing that, and I grew from that because that was, and still is, within me. So nothing is wrong with sharing that, or with seeing it from, or choosing rather from, I need this, or from, it's in the family, or, I just go to study. Nothing is wrong with that. But it sometimes doesn't address all of who it is that you are. It's just a portion of you, but not all of you. And that's why I find it's very beneficial to come from the self. And as well, coming from there, you don't have issues with confidence because you're from your core. You don't have issues with feeling that you can't do what is in front of you because you know you can. So what I'm saying here is that if we can look more, those of us who don't anyway, look more, and I'm not saying I don't, I still choose from my mind. I still choose from how I feel. But we can start looking at what is more within ourselves and choose from there. It's more, it's greater benefit for us to do so. And my doggy wants to come in and out, so I hope it's not distracting. Okay, Gary. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. No, before you go, I want to talk to you a little bit. I know that I recently spoke with you and your colleague about the things that you're doing currently in finance. And I just want you to give us a little insight in terms of the work that you're doing in the UK right now in the financial space. I know your partner, she's very passionate about, helping people to become more financially literate and to position them for financial greatness. So can you give us a brief overview of what that is?
Yes. Well, I am with a company called Jenny Star, and it was born out of a company called Primerica. So those who, maybe people in America would know of that. I've just come back from Orlando.
Yeah, I know about Primerica.
Yes. But Primerica was in the UK in the early millennium. They were based here in the UK. And then they left to go back to America. As a result of that, the people who were employed at Primerica, some of them decided to get together and form the same model that they had here with Primerica, which is called Jenny Star. And that is how it is that we are operating here in the UK. So we're financial planners. We're not called financial planners, but what we do, we educate people in finance.
Yeah, so, I worked with some of the leaders from Primerica many years ago, and I know that they're very much involved in investment instruments, and where the general public, they're able to partake in those type of investment. They also deal with insurance.
Yes.
I know some of the team leaders, and those are some of the, great leaders that I know. because they work tremendously hard in connecting with people and building networks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that, you and your team, you're doing something similar back now in the UK. So how was your visit
Oh,
to America?
really? It was
recently?
amazing. They were celebrating the 25th anniversary for America, and
Mhm.
they showed us how it is that we can earn more money.
Okay.
Um, it was brilliant. Lots of it also was good to see the growth financially of
Mm.
African Americans too. I think that was brilliant. Um, it was good to see the amount of people involved as well. I like, yeah, and of course, I mean, in the America, you probably have a little bit more opportunity. I don't know, well, in some ways, but we also have the same thing here, but differently. Differently. Um, we have the Financial Conduct Authority who regulates us, and we have to go by their regulations. So um, it's okay. It's all right. What else? But I like having to mix with them and learn a little bit about how they do business there.
Yeah.
It's
It's always powerful to do, international networking. I think if you have a business and you want to grow it,
yeah.
the ability to connect with people across the world is so important. All right, Joan, I must say it has been such a pleasure listening to you. We have to talk because I think it's time that you have author behind your name
Yes.
with all the history that you have there. So I will reach out to you soon, and we will definitely be talking some more.
Thank you.
All right, Joan, do have a great rest of the day. All right, so there you had it. Today you have experienced a number of speakers, and I trust that you would have enjoyed all of the presentations. Now, I'm going to be the last speaker here today, and today I want to talk about a number of important concepts that you need to learn, apply, and master. Now, if you're starting a business, there are 5 things that you really need to hold close at your heart. One is data. The second is tools. The third is processes. The fourth is leadership. And the last is systems. Now, I'm going to talk briefly about data. If you're going to start a business because you want to be successful, you want to ask yourself, do you have the right data? Now, what exactly do I mean by data? Because data could be an abstract term. But let me break this down for you just a little bit. Data is about you understanding who is your ideal client. Because very often you start a business where you don't have a clear mental picture in terms of who is the ideal client. Data is you taking the time to understand what are the specific needs of the people that you want to target products and services on. Because if you don't know this, the possibility exists that you may be innovating products and services that is completely non-aligned to your interests of your target audience. So you need data. You need to have data of how viable the market is. Because the possibility exists that you're getting into business, but you never do the viability stress test, and largely because you don't understand the viability stress test. Guess what? You're laboring and providing service in an area that doesn't make financial sense. So you need to do these 3 things before you basically innovate products and services. And let me give you an example, because a lot of these things that we talk about, it can be linked right back to modern day history, and it can be linked right back to historical figures. I want to assure you that when you hear names like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and the great mind behind you know the great minds in business, they have data. All right, they have data. And I want to carry you to a biblical figure that followed data. There's a story in the Bible with Abraham, and there was a great famine that came upon the land. And Abraham and his wife Sarah, they had to move in order to avoid being swallowed up by the famine. But before Abraham left that land, he had to walk through Canaan and then get to Egypt. He did research, he collected data. And he was smart enough to know that if he did not collect the data, his life could have been at risk because one, he had an extremely beautiful wife. And in those days, because of what the culture was like in Egypt, he know one, they could have taken his wife, and two, they would have killed him. But because he had information, data, it helps him to make informed and highly educated decision. So he said to Sarah, do not say you're my wife, say you're my sister. So when he entered Egypt, he introduced his wife as a sister. And guess what? That literally saved his life. But much more than that happened. And remember, Abraham was a man of God. He, you know, because of that situation, guess what? Tremendous opportunity would open up for him to get wealth. Because when the Pharaoh at the time listened to his story and thought that Sarah was his wife, Sarah, the the Pharaoh now started to give him a lot of gifts, livestock and servants and all of these different things. Remember, he was coming from a famine, but this is a man of God that believed in data, and that opened up tremendous opportunity for him to now get well. But guess what? His wife was saved, all right, because when God is upon you, he protects you and everything in your household. The Pharaoh did not get a chance to raise his hands on his wife. So his wife was protected, covered by God. And when Pharaoh then discovered that Sarah was his wife and not his sister, Pharaoh confronted him. But because of the great work of God, Pharaoh allowed him and his wife to leave Egypt with all of the gifts. So when he went to Canaan, because again he used data, he was able to get access to this. When he went to Canaan, he was now able to establish himself as a man of great wealth. And I just use this as one example of how important is data. All right, when you look at the successful people in the world, they use data. The next concept that I'm going to talk very quickly about is tools and what tools has to do with wealth. Well, tools is very important. And there are many types of tools, but in business and in life, the type of tool that I'm going to talk about now is the tool of relationships. All right. You see, if you're in business and you're not invested in building healthy, productive relationship with people, the right people, the possibilities that you can struggle in the things that you're doing. Abraham had the ability to negotiate and build relationships. And it is evidence because Abraham went on to build relationship with, great leaders in Canaan, great leaders across, the continent at that time because he was deeply involved in trade. So, of course, if you want to be successful in business, one of the tools that you need is relationship. Yes, there are many tools. There's land, there's labor, there's capital, there's enterprise. All of these things are tools, but I'm not going to get into that today because I'm going to look at the basic. Because once you have relationship with bankers, once you have relationship with business consultants, once you have relationships with the right people, those relationships is going to serve you to up level the growth of your business. So I want to encourage you to invest as much time in building relationship. And if you don't know how, we at Seven Figure Media, we have an excellent program that is really going to help you to understand some of the practical steps that you can start to take to build quality relationships with people. All right. If you're in business, if you're struggling, I want to say this to you. You're struggling because you don't have the right relationships with the right people. And it's important for you to know this. All right. Now, the third thing that I'm going to talk about is process. Do you have a clear process? And what exactly is process? Process is knowing the right way to deploy the right tools to attain predictable outcome. You see, in doing things in life, you just don't want to be doing things because you can do it. You want to do it because you want to attain predictable outcome. And what is predictable outcome? It's like you setting a goal that you want to position yourself to generate $1 million annually. But then you also know what are the steps that you need to take, the right tools deployed the right way to attain the predictable outcome. Now, those are things that we will get very deep into because, again, if you do not know the right processes, you're going to struggle in your effort to start a business. You're going to struggle in your effort to scale that business. You're going to struggle to position your business and your brand to become that 6, 7, or 9 figure income earner. And this is what we do. This is how we support businesses across the world. All right. You need to understand the right processes, the right way to deploy the right tools to attain predictable outcome. The great ones in business, believe me, they have a clear process. Now, leadership. How important is leadership? You rise and you fall on leadership. All right. You rise and you fall on leadership. Now, you can have the right data, you can know the right tools, you can know the right processes. But if you do not know how to apply leadership, your vision is going to be compromised. I've seen many great people across the world who have great ideas, great vision, but guess what? They don't have the ability to execute on that vision. And because you don't have the ability to execute, to lead, the vision is compromised. In our program, we talk to you about a couple of things about leadership. We talk about proactive leadership and what is different about proactive leaders. Proactive leaders, there are three things that helps them to stand out. One, they think ahead. Are you thinking ahead about the things that you want to accomplish? Two, they see beyond problems. Because many persons, yes, you think ahead about the great things that you want to accomplish, but then you get stuck in the problem zone. You want to start and scale a business, but you don't have the capital. You want to start and you scale a business, but you don't have the right human resources. And guess what? There are many rising stars in business for years, for decades. You want capital to grow and scale your business, and you just don't know how to get it. And because you don't know how to see beyond the problem, you get stuck in the problem zone. So you want to be the type of leader that is not only thinking ahead, you want to be the type of leader that is able to see beyond the problem. And the third one here is very important, the ability to take informed action to achieve desired results. All the great people, biblically and in business, in the real world, they apply these principles. It is your ability to apply these principles that's going to position you to attain greatness. All right. So in our community, we will help you to understand these techniques that can position you to start and scale your 6, 7, and 9 figure brand and to do it at ease. Because these are proven systems that has worked time and time and time again. Remember, great leaders that think ahead, great leaders that see beyond the problems, and great leaders that take informed action to achieve desired results. And that's something that you want to invest in. The last concept that I will talk about today is systems. And how important is systems? Systems is so important. Why? Because it keeps you anchored to a way of doing things. It not only keeps you anchored to a way of doing things to attain predictable outcome, but it enables you and your team to have a clearly established system to continue to grow your success story. So in systems, we will talk about transparency. We will talk about accountability. We will talk about consistency. We will talk about traceability and transferability. And you need to understand all of this. And let me give a brief example of this. You see, very often you may have a way of doing things, but if something happens to you, what happened to the way of doing things? The way of doing things is compromised. But if you have a way of making money, all right, you want to have a way to also position that process to work in the absence of you. All right, you know, in the financial world, they say the best way to make money is to make money when you're sleeping. All right, and do you have a in this program? We will help you to understand it. So, whether you have a business or you're into real estate, we're going to help you to understand how to adopt systems to position you to make money when you sleep. All right. So I trust that you would have enjoyed today's program, and I'm going to leave it there for now. All right. I must say it has been such a pleasure having each and every one of you here with me today. I want to thank Lima for being here. I want to thank Joan for being here. I want to thank Stacy for being here. And we also have Chris. And I think Frankie had to run to another meeting. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to start with Stacy. I know, Stacy, this is your first time on Take Your Voice Global. What was the experience like for you?
Oh, it was surprisingly easier than I expected, but I was freaked out beforehand. So I felt very honored and comfortable and welcome. And that helped make me free to share.
Awesome. Awesome. John, I'm going to come to Lima just now. How was it been for you? Did you feel comfortable?
Yes, I felt comfortable. A little bit nervous at some point as well, for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I know you're a veteran at this, but you sound very nervous. It come across a little bit that way, perhaps because it's the first time.
Yeah, but I'm okay. I appreciate being nervous as well.
All right, you're a human, and these things happen.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna come to Lima. Lima, I know this is your first time on. Well, this is the first episode, so I'm so blessed to have all of you here, all of you rich people, who represent the body of Christ. I'm so blessed to be among you, you folks. Lima, what was your experience like today? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in the presence of all the other speakers and hearing their messages. So it was awesome.
Great. Chris?
Yeah. Same thing. I thought that you guys all gave a very powerful message. I love that we are all able to impact lives in different ways. I'm sure as you guys did, I thought very long and hard about what my niche would be when I decided to start living a life of service. And I truly believe that it's my purpose to do exactly what I'm doing. And I'm glad that you guys have found yours.
Awesome. All right, folks, and I want to say to the audience across the world, today we are certain that we've reached over 50 countries, and I know that we had present over 2,000 persons who have been in and out of the room. And I want to thank all the viewers from around the world and all those who participated in today's program. And keep following the program. And everyone here, they have, a message to share and a lot to give. So keep following this platform to learn more from everyone. And I want to thank everyone for being here today.